He shouldn't have been there. Not at that hour. Not with the storm clawing at the windows, like it wanted to get inside. Thomas stood at the end of the hallway, the blue one, the one that never seemed quite right. It was part of the house, sure, but it felt like a part tacked on in a dream. The wallpaper was peeling in vertical strips, like shedding skin. The carpet, though vacuumed that morning, held the faint scent of rot. It was 2:46 a.m. He knew because the grandfather clock in the foyer kept announcing it. Over and over. 13 times. He didn't remember waking up. Just standing there. His slippers were wet. He didn't own slippers. There had always been 3 doors in that hallway. The left to the study, the right to the guest room, and straight ahead to nothing. A wall, painted over many times, sealed. Until tonight. Now there was a door. Black wood, iron knob, no keyhole. Thomas stared at it, not moving, not breathing. The storm outside had stopped screaming. The house had gone still. But something behind that door was breathing. He could hear it. Slow, wet. He should have turned away, walked back to bed, but his hand lifted on its own, trembling, as if remembering a motion he'd never made. When his palm touched the door, it felt warm. Some doors stay closed for a reason. If you're still with us, subscribe now. But remember, it's too late to turn back. The door didn't creak. It sighed, as if it had been waiting. The air behind it spilled out into the hallway like steam from a dying animal. It stank of wet stone, iron, and soil that had never known sunlight. Inside, there was only darkness. No room, no floor, just a staircase descending into shadow. Thomas stepped through. The door shut behind him. There was no handle on this side. The steps beneath him pulsed slightly, as though alive. His slippers, still wet, whispered against the wood. He didn't know why he kept walking, just that he couldn't stop. Somewhere deep below, Amai began. Not words, not quite, but something close, like a conversation underwater. The walls were narrowing. Breathing. Thomas's shoulders brushed damp stone. The light from above, what little there had been, was long gone. The only illumination came from behind his own eyes. A reddish glow, memories, maybe, or something worse. He passed a mirror. There shouldn't have been a mirror, but it showed him clearly, and he was smiling. The stairs ended in a room with no corners. It curved like the inside of a throat, smooth, seamless. In the center stood a table, and on the table a single object wrapped in cloth. Thomas stepped forward. The sound of his own breath unnerved him, too loud, too hollow. He reached for the cloth. It writhed, not like an animal, not even like something alive, but like thought. The cloth came away in one pull. Underneath, a key, black iron, just like the door above. It was cold, but his fingers didn't want to let go. "Thomas." The voice came from the walls, or inside him, or neither. He spun, clutching the key, but saw only smooth curvature. No exit, no entrance. "Thomas," it said again, softer, with longing. He dropped the key. It didn't hit the ground, it sank. The table rippled as though made of liquid glass, and the key vanished. He turned back to the wall, and there was a new door, not like the last one. This one was open. We're not alone in our memories. Hit like if you've ever felt watched by something you forgot. It led to a corridor that pulsed with red light, like a heartbeat. Along the walls, framed pictures, photographs of Thomas, childhood, teen years, his wedding, his daughter's birth. But they were wrong. In each one, his eyes were missing. Just blank skin, where sockets should be. And behind him, someone else, always the same shape. Tall, thin, smiling, without teeth. It had always been there. He had never seen it until now. At the end of the corridor, he heard it.
"Daddy?"
His daughter's voice, but not her. Too young, too perfect, like a recording. He ran. The pictures began to blink as he passed, their eyes opening, each one watching. He reached the end, a nursery, his old nursery, but it hadn't been in this house. This was not his house, and the crib was full of something moving. Afraid. He should not have looked. He knew that. But his feet crossed the threshold anyway. The thing in the crib wore his daughter's skin, like a mask. But the eyes, they were old. Wrong. It sat up. "Welcome back," it said, and the room folded in on itself. He screamed, but no sound came, only a flash of that same key floating in the air above him, turning slowly. It hovered between his hands. If he took it, he knew he would never leave, but if he didn't, something else would. He closed his eyes, and the key fell into his palm. A door opened in the wall, plain, wooden, ordinary. Shocked. His childhood bedroom, on the other side. He stepped through. His mother sat on the bed, weeping into her hands. "Why did you open it?" she asked. Some questions have no safe answers. Subscribe for more stories that don't let you look away. Thomas tried to answer, but he couldn't remember the question. His mother was gone, the room was empty, and the door behind him had vanished. He was 8 years old again, or 46, or both. A knock came from inside the closet. He opened it. Inside, a staircase descending into shadow. At the bottom, a room, familiar, but decayed. On a desk, a journal, bound in leather, stained. He opened it. Every page his handwriting. Each one detailed a visit down the stairs. Each time different. Each time worse. One entry read, "Don't open the last door." He flipped the page. The next read, "But you always do." Thoughtful. Ahead. A wall with no markings. But he knew. It was a door. Shocked. The key appeared in his hand again. He turned it. The wall split, soundlessly. Inside, a void, starless, infinite. And in the center, himself, smiling. He stepped in. The other Thomas didn't move, didn't blink. Neutral. "You let me out," it said. Shocked, Thomas shook his head. "No, You opened the last door." Its mouth widened, more than it should. "You're not supposed to remember." The void began to shatter, not with noise, with silence. Pieces of the world peeled away, memory, sound, thought. Afraid, Thomas screamed, or tried to. The last thing he saw was his reflection. Shocked, it wasn't screaming. It was laughing. Laughing. Morning. The storm was gone. The blue hallway looked normal again. But the fourth door was still there. Closed. Waiting. And upstairs, Thomas's bed was empty. You've reached the end. Or the beginning. If this story stays with you, you've already opened the door.
Okay, let's unpack this. Tonight, we're not just diving into a story. We're stepping through a threshold into something far more unsettling. We're exploring a set of sources that paints a portrait of a mind unraveling, a reality shifting, and choices that echo long, long after they're made. Our journey into the profound and I think deeply introspective depths of the blue hallway's labyrinth of memory. Well, it's less about uncovering factual data and more about grappling with raw feeling, with the very architecture of dread and memory itself. The source material for this deep dive comes to us in excerpts from a work simply titled The Blue Hallway's Labyrinth of Memory. These fragments are incredibly potent. They really emphasize psychological depth and raise these profound questions about the nature of perception, the relentless pull of fate, and the very essence of self. Our mission tonight, then, is to carefully navigate the unsettling narrative of Thomas, to delve deeply into the psychological weight of his experience, and to ponder the philosophical questions it leaves just hanging in the air long after the last word is read. This is going to be a heavy one, I think. A slow descent into the shadows, so lean in.
What's truly fascinating here, and quite unnerving actually, is how a seemingly simple narrative can become this vast, intricate canvas for profound introspection. If we connect this to the bigger picture, these excerpts aren't merely a tale of horror in the traditional sense, though they certainly have their chilling moments. Oh yes, no.
Yeah.
They're more like a deep, almost haunting meditation on the nature of memory itself. Its fragility, its capacity for distortion, and perhaps most insidiously, its power as an active, creeping force that shapes our present. They also touch upon the terrifying possibility that some paths are chosen for us long before we even realize we're walking them. And this raises an immediate and critical question, one that Thomas himself is clearly grappling with. What happens when the very ground beneath your reality begins to shift? When the familiar turns foreign and your own home? Well, it no longer feels like your own, but maybe like a trap of your own making.
Right. And Thomas's experience begins with exactly that, doesn't it? That immediate jarring sense of displacement. He finds himself standing at the end of the blue one, the one that never seemed quite right, a hallway that, while ostensibly part of his house, felt like a part tacked on in a dream. Just wrong. It's 2:46 a.m. a specific unsettling time, and a storm is clawing at the windows like it wanted to get inside. He doesn't remember waking up, he's just there.
Yeah.
A stark, disorienting arrival.
Exactly. No transition, just presence.
And it's not just the hour or the storm that's wrong. The hallway itself is this portrait of unsettling decay. The text says wallpaper peeling in vertical strips like shedding skin, and a carpet that, despite being vacuumed, emits the faint scent of rot.
That imagery, shedding skin, it's incredibly potent.
It really is. This isn't just a place, it's a profound feeling of being utterly out of place, an intrusion into one's own supposed sanctuary, like finding a dark alien corner within your very self, The details are so specific, so unsettling. The shedding skin wallpaper, that faint scent of rot. They evoke an immediate, deep sensory discomfort, a pervasive feeling of wrongness that just gnaws at the edges of his perception.
Absolutely. It's designed to put you on edge immediately.
And the storm outside. It doesn't just feel like weather, does it? It feels like an externalization of an internal turmoil, a violent manifestation of the chaos brewing within Thomas's own mind, perhaps.
That's a great point. The external reflecting the internal, or maybe even influencing it.
And then there's that chilling, inexplicable detail that truly cracks open the veneer of normalcy. His slippers were wet. He didn't own slippers.
Ah, yes, that detail.
It's small, seemingly minor, but it immediately tells us something is deeply, profoundly amiss. It's a sign that the very fabric of his reality is fraying, almost melting, a breach of logic that just screams, nothing here is what it seems.
That's a crucial observation. Because the blue hallway itself, it can be seen as a classic example of a liminal space. That unsettling in-between state, a threshold that's neither entirely here nor entirely there. A transition point between one known reality and, well, something else entirely.
Like a waking dream state.
Exactly. Where the rules of the ordinary world begin to dissolve. The peeling wallpaper and that pervasive scent of rot. They aren't just physical descriptors of neglect. They strongly suggest a decay, not only of the physical space, but perhaps of a past self, or even a specific memory that is deteriorating. It hints at the mind's own struggles with coherence, doesn't it?
It really does.
And the disorienting effect of waking without any memory of how he got there, it immediately plunges Thomas, and us with him, into this state of vulnerable uncertainty. It mirrors that psychological experience of dissociation where you feel detached from your body or your surroundings.
Right, completely unmoored.
And then, as if to underscore this break from normalcy, there's the ominous, unsettling rhythm of the grandfather clock in the foyer. It kept announcing the time, the text says, over and over, 13 times.
13, not 12.
Precisely. This isn't just a functional timepiece. It's a broken, unnatural rhythm, 13 times. This number, often associated with ill omens, signifies a profound distortion of time itself. It's an early, subtle warning that the rules of his reality are no longer in effect.
Time itself is unraveling.
Alongside Thomas's sanity, perhaps. It circles back to that initial unsettling question. What does it mean when the familial becomes foreign? When your own home no longer feels like your own? How deeply does our external environment reflect or perhaps influence our internal state? Is Thomas's hallway decaying, or is it his mind?
Such a disturbing thought. And as if this profound disorientation weren't enough, the situation escalates dramatically. The sudden, impossible appearance of a new door. He knows the hallway always had 3 doors: study, guest room, and a sealed wall straight ahead. But until tonight, that wall was just a wall. Now, inexplicably, there's a new door. Black wood, iron knob, no keyhole. It simply is.
Just manifests out of nowhere.
The surreal, dreamlike quality of this appearance is palpable, almost suffocating. Something that shouldn't be there is. It's a violation of architectural logic, a sudden gaping rupture in reality. The primal fear this evokes is intensified by the sudden unnatural stillness of the outside storm, a silence that's somehow more terrifying than the previous clawing,
Yes, that shift is unnerving.
And it's contrasted with this horrifying sound emanating from behind the new door. Slow, wet.
Just those 2 words.
It's vague enough to allow your mind to conjure the worst possible horrors. What kind of entity breathes slow and wet? Is it something ancient, something monstrous, or something even more insidious, maybe born of his own darkest fears?
It leaves so much to the imagination, which is often more terrifying.
The dread is immediate, visceral, utterly consuming.
And this is truly a critical moment because it introduces that pervasive, unsettling theme of inevitability versus free will that runs throughout the entire narrative.
Right. He knows he shouldn't go near it.
Exactly. Thomas explicitly thinks he should have turned away, walked back to bed. That's the rational thought. Yet his hand lifts on its own, trembling, as if remembering a motion he'd never made.
On its own. That's terrifying.
It isn't a conscious decision. It's an involuntary, almost predetermined action, like a puppet on strings. Is this a subconscious pull? A buried memory asserting itself, forcing him towards a confrontation?
Or something else pulling the strings.
Or is it a force entirely beyond his control, some external, perhaps malevolent, will guiding him into its trap? The very act of his hand moving on its own is deeply unsettling. It's a terrifying surrender of agency that hints at a larger, darker design at play.
And the door itself?
Yeah.
It's warm.
Yes. The fact that the door felt warm when his palm touched it adds another layer of ambiguity and sinister invitation. Is it inviting? Suggesting a hidden warmth or knowledge that draws him in.
Or is it feverish? Like something sick and alive?
Or something alive and malevolent radiating an unnatural feverish heat.
Yes. This warmth, combined with his chillingly involuntary action, transforms the door into more than just an entryway. It becomes a psychological threshold, a point of no return from which there is no conscious retreat.
A point of no return.
It forces us to ask that vital philosophical question. Do we truly choose our paths? Or are there hidden forces, perhaps deeply embedded within our own subconscious, guiding us or even compelling us towards experiences we might rather avoid? What if the choices we think we're making are merely echoes of decisions already made for us? Wow. Okay, we're really just at the beginning of this journey, and already the questions are piling up, aren't they? This isn't just about a man finding a strange door. It's about the very nature of control, of perception, and of the self. What are your initial interpretations of this sudden, unsettling shift in Thomas's reality? This chilling loss of agency? What does that slow, wet sound conjure in your mind? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments.
Yes, definitely share those initial feelings. They're often very telling.
So Thomas steps through that newly appeared door, and the descriptions. They become even more visceral, more organic, more unsettling. The door itself doesn't just creak or groan, it sighed, as if it had been waiting for this moment. A deep, ancient breath.
That sigh, it personifies the door in such a creepy way.
It really does. And the air that spills out isn't just air. It's like steam from a dying animal, carrying the heavy, ancient scent of wet stone, iron, and soil that had never known sunlight.
The smell of the tomb. Something buried.
Exactly. Something that should remain buried. Inside, there's no room, no floor, just a staircase descending into shadow. And then the ultimate sealing of fate, the finality that clamps down on any hope of escape. The door shut behind him. There was no handle on this side.
Trapped, irrevocably.
This moment, the shutting of the door, is profoundly impactful. It's the suffocating feeling of being sealed in, of losing all control, of an irreversible commitment to whatever lies ahead, a one-way trip into the abyss.
And that air. Steam from a dying animal. It evokes something ancient, decaying, yet still possessing a lingering, morbid vitality. Perhaps the last vestiges of something once alive, now rotting.
And as he descends, the steps themselves pulse slightly, as though alive. His slippers, still wet from that inexplicable initial appearance.
Ah, yes, the wet slippers.
They were whispered against the wood. These aren't just sensory details. They create this unnerving, almost symbiotic relationship between Thomas and his descent. He's not just walking downstairs. He's becoming part of them, being absorbed into this alien living structure.
Right, the environment is actively engaging with him.
And he explicitly notes he didn't know why he kept walking.
Right.
Just that he couldn't stop.
Another instance of that loss of control.
Yes. This involuntary movement echoes his hand reaching for the door, cementing the chilling idea that he is now completely at the mercy of this unfolding nightmare, a prisoner of his own feet. What compels us forward when every fiber of our being, every ounce of logic, dictates retreat?
Right.
Is it a morbid, almost masochistic curiosity? Or a deeper unconscious pull towards understanding something unsettling, something fundamentally wrong about ourselves?
That's it, precisely. This descent is clearly not just into a physical space. It's a profound, almost primal plunge into the unknown depths of the self, or perhaps a long-buried, repressed part of Thomas's memory.
The subconscious made manifest.
Perhaps. The air, with its ancient decaying scent of wet stone and soil that's never seen sunlight, it suggests something that was once vibrant but is now in a state of putrefaction, a forgotten past that holds a dark, decaying secret that demands to be unearthed.
A secret he might not want to know.
Likely not. And the lack of a handle on the other side is incredibly significant. It signifies that irreversible commitment, a psychological point of no return. Retreat is simply no longer an option. It's like a commitment device, only for dread.
A commitment device for dread. That's
Yeah.
good. That's chillingly accurate.
The pulsing steps and the whispering slippers, they contribute to an almost dreamlike yet terrifying sensory experience. Thomas's inability to stop walking, despite his conscious desire to do so, powerfully reinforces the idea that he's caught in a predetermined sequence of events, driven by a force larger than himself, be it his subconscious, or something more external and malevolent that has taken root within him.
Right, the source isn't clear yet.
No, it highlights a core aspect of this narrative. A terrifying surrender to the unknown, where the journey itself becomes an inescapable part of the self, a path he's doomed to follow. It's a chilling thought. How much of our inner landscape is truly under our control?
Very little, this suggests. As Thomas continues his descent, the environment becomes even more distorted, actively reflecting an internal fracturing. A murmur begins deep below. Not words, not quite, but something close, like a conversation underwater, muffled and indistinct.
Like suppressed thoughts trying to surface?
Exactly. The walls are not static, they are narrowing, breathing, closing in on him, making the space feel alive and malevolent. Thomas's shoulders brush against damp stone, that cold, clammy touch, and the light is gone. The only illumination came from behind his own eyes, a reddish glow. Memories, maybe, or something worse.
That internal light source. Fascinating. And ominous.
And then a jarring, deeply unsettling detail, a cruel twist. He passes a mirror that showed him clearly, and he was smiling.
The smile, that's profoundly disturbing.
The auditory distortions that conversation underwater are incredibly unsettling, like repressed thoughts or fragmented voices trying to break through a psychological barrier. It's the sound of a mind struggling, perhaps losing its grip.
Or something trying to communicate from the depth.
Ooh, good point. The claustrophobic feeling of the walls breathing creates a sense of being consumed by the space, a living, hostile environment that actively seeks to absorb him. But the truly jarring shift is the light source. It's no longer external but internal, that reddish glow emanating from behind his own eyes. This internal light, described as memories maybe, or something worse, immediately makes you wonder, what worse could possibly be than memories?
Right. Perhaps it's the raw, unvarnished truth hidden within or behind those memories. A terrifying self-knowledge.
That makes sense. But the most horrifying detail, the one that truly jolts you, is his reflection. To see yourself clearly in such a terrifying, disorienting environment, and to be smiling, it suggests a chilling disconnect, a disturbing self-acceptance of the unfolding horror, or an unacknowledged, perhaps malevolent part of himself surfacing, taking twisted pleasure in the descent.
That murmur below, like a conversation underwater, strongly suggests that suppressed thoughts, or forgotten, perhaps traumatic memories, are attempting to surface, just out of clear reach of his conscious mind. And that internal reddish glow is absolutely vital to the psychological landscape here. It signifies an illumination that comes from within, implying that the truth of his situation and perhaps his own identity isn't external, but deeply internal.
The answers are inside him, or the horror is.
Exactly. The unsettling phrase, memories maybe, or something worse, opens a truly terrifying possibility. What could be worse than memories? Perhaps the raw, unvarnished truth behind them, or the true nature of his own fragmented, hidden self, stripped of all pleasant illusions.
That smile in the mirror. It is deeply disturbing because it offers multiple, equally chilling interpretations, doesn't it?
It really does. It could be a mask Thomas wears, a desperate attempt at coping or denial.
Or madness setting in.
It could be a sign of a creeping madness, yes, a psychological break. Or, most chillingly, it could be a part of him that wants this descent, that finds some perverse satisfaction in the unraveling, almost like a separate personality taking over.
Wow.
This moment powerfully introduces the idea that our subconscious mind, the part of us we often aren't even aware of, can reveal unsettling truths. Truths that the conscious mind may actively suppress to protect itself from unbearable reality.
Like a safety mechanism failing.
Precisely. It forces us to ask, what do our reflections truly show us, especially when our internal state is fractured or distorted? Are there parts of ourselves we actively suppress, only for them to emerge in unexpected, terrifying ways, perhaps as reflections we no longer recognize?
The descent culminates in a place that completely defies logic. A space that feels utterly alien, yet disturbingly organic. The stairs end in a room with no corners. It curved like the inside of a throat, smooth, seamless.
Like being swallowed.
Exactly. It's a space designed to disorient, to trap, to consume. In the very center of this disturbing biological feeling space, there's a table with a single object wrapped in cloth. Thomas reaches for it, and the cloth itself uncannily writhed, not like an animal, not even like something alive, but like thought.
Like thought, what an incredible description.
It's a chilling image, a physical manifestation of pure, restless cognition. Beneath the cloth, he finds a key, black iron, just like the door above. And he notes it was cold, but his fingers didn't want to let go.
That involuntary grip again?
Yes. The room itself is deeply unnerving with its organic description, like the inside of a throat. It suggests a space that is literally consuming, or perhaps a space that is literally internal to some larger, unseen, monstrous entity.
Or internal to Thomas himself, in a way. The landscape of his mind made real.
That's a terrifying possibility, too. The cloth that writhed, like thought, is such a powerful, deeply unsettling image. It's not physical writhing, but something intensely mental, alive with an unseen, terrifying sentience, indicating that what lies beneath is tied directly to the workings of the mind, to pure cognition itself.
Right, the object is intrinsically linked to consciousness.
And the key, an object typically associated with unlocking, with freedom. Here it feels profoundly sinister. It's cold, yet Thomas's fingers didn't want to let go, indicating another instance of his agency being overridden, or a subconscious desire overriding his conscious will, drawing him inexorably forward. It's a key that promises not liberation, but perhaps further deeper entrapment within this psychological maze.
Absolutely. The room with no corners is a profound symbol here. It could represent a space of inescapable truth, a trap from which there is no logical escape because there are no boundaries to navigate. Or it could signify a place where conventional geometry and reason simply break down, reflecting a mind that is unraveling its own structural integrity.
Losing its shape.
Yes. Its seamless, throat-like curvature certainly implies a swallowing, an absorption, a point of no return where the external world dissolves into an internal organic reality. It's a space designed to disorient and to hold.
And the key?
The key, yes. Often, a universal symbol of solutions or access takes on a deeply sinister quality in this context. Its material, black iron, directly links it to the original, impossibly appearing door, suggesting a connection to fate or a predefined, inevitable path that Thomas is already on.
It's all connected.
It seems so. The thought-like quality of the cloth implies that the key, and whatever it is meant to unlock, is intricately tied to Thomas's own mind, to his buried knowledge, or perhaps to a truth that exists only in the realm of his fractured consciousness.
So the key isn't just an object.
No, it's deeply symbolic. This object, the key, forces us to consider a chilling philosophical question. What are the keys we hold in our lives? To our past, our identity, our future, and what happens when those keys are not meant to unlock freedom, but instead lead to further, perhaps even eternal, entrapment within ourselves?
Wow. Okay, just as Thomas grasps the key, holding this cold, heavy object of insidious intent, a voice calls his name, Thomas. It comes from everywhere and nowhere, the walls, or inside him, or neither, disembodied.
Deeply unsettling.
When he spins, frantic, there's only the smooth, curving room, silent once more. The voice calls his name again, softer, with longing.
Longing, that's intimate.
A chilling intimacy, exactly.
Yeah.
In that moment of profound disorientation and fear, he drops the key, but it doesn't hit the ground. It sank. The table impossibly rippled, as though made of liquid glass.
Reality dissolving.
The key vanishes, dissolving into this fluid reality, and as if in immediate response, a new open door appears in the wall, beckoning.
No action required from him this time. The path just opens.
This is a deeply personal and incredibly unsettling moment. The voice, knowing his name and speaking with longing, suggests something intimately connected to him, not just an external threat, is a part of himself, a lost memory, a repressed desire, or a malevolent entity seeking a deeper, more insidious connection, maybe even possession.
All terrifying possibilities. That longing is key. What does it long for?
Exactly. The surreal vanishing of the key and the liquid rippling table are further powerful distortions of reality, dissolving the very physical laws of this space, illustrating that in this labyrinth, nothing, solid nothing, is what it seems.
It's a purely psychological space now, it seems.
The immediate appearance of a new open door after the key vanishes implies a direct consequence, a reaction to Thomas's action, or perhaps his inevitable inaction. It's as if a new path is revealed only when a certain truth is grasped, or an old physical barrier is dissolved, pushing him deeper into the heart of the maze.
This voice, calling Thomas's name with longing, is indeed a pivotal moment. It could represent a desperate call from his true, perhaps fragmented self, a plea for recognition or understanding. Or it could be a manipulative entity within his own psyche, or even an external one, seeking to lure him further into its grasp, playing on his deepest desires for connection.
Using intimacy as a weapon.
Possibly. The longing suggests something that desires connection, ownership, or even a perverse form of release, perhaps from its own hidden state. The key sinking and the table rippling imply that this key is not a physical object, but a symbolic one, dissolving into the very fabric of this distorted psychological reality. It's a truth or a choice that becomes integrated into his being, transforming the landscape around him.
He absorbs the key in a way.
Or the truth it represents. The immediate appearance of a new, open door without him having to act further suggests that once a certain truth is revealed or a psychological barrier is crossed, perhaps by letting go of the physical key and allowing it to be absorbed, a new path automatically manifests.
An inescapable progression.
Exactly, where one revelation immediately leads to the next stage of the journey, almost like a pre-programmed sequence. This raises a compelling philosophical question. If a voice from within knows your name with such longing, what does it truly want? Is it a call to self-discovery, to finally confront a hidden part of yourself? Or is it a siren song to a deeper, more insidious delusion, a welcoming into a more profound nightmare?
It's as if, in this realm, the very act of existing opens new doors, whether you want them to or not.
A terrifying thought. No agency even in stillness.
Stepping through this new door, Thomas enters a corridor that pulsed with red light, like a heartbeat. It's an almost biological pulse, suggesting life, but a sinister, distorted, perhaps malevolent life, the very rhythm of this horrifying reality.
Like being inside something alive.
Along the walls, framed photographs of his life, childhood, teen years, his wedding, his daughter's birth, the mundane, cherished moments. But they are horrifyingly wrong. In each one, his eyes are missing. Just blank skin where sockets should be.
God, that blindness?
A literal blindness to a hidden truth. And behind him, in every single photo, someone else. Always the same shape. Tall, thin, smiling without teeth.
Always there, unseen.
Thomas has a chilling, bone-deep realization. It had always been there. He had never seen it until now.
That shatters everything, his whole life story.
The red light pulsing like a heartbeat suggests life, yes, but a sinister, distorted, perhaps malevolent life. The very pulse of this horrifying reality breathing in sync with his fear. The visual horror of the missing eyes in his own photographs is profoundly disturbing. A literal blindness to a hidden truth about his own past, implying a willful ignorance maybe, a refusal to see something vital, something staring him in the face.
Or an inability to see. Maybe he was genuinely blind to it.
That's possible too. But the true chilling revelation, the one that makes your blood run cold, is the someone else. This ever-present unseen entity always lurking behind him. It's a chilling visualization of an unacknowledged or repressed aspect of himself, a dark shadow he chose to ignore. Or perhaps an external parasitic influence that has always been present in his life, quietly shaping it.
The smiling without teeth, that adds such a grotesque, predatory element.
It does. The shattering realization that it had always been there, he had never seen it until now, is a complete obliteration of his entire self-narrative, destroying his perception of his own life and identity. It makes you wonder, how much of our past do we deliberately blind ourselves to? Are there truths lurking in the corners of our memories that, once seen, irrevocably change our understanding of who we are, fundamentally altering our reality?
This section is a direct, brutal confrontation with Thomas's own memory, but through a corrupted, insidious lens. The photographs are no longer just records of the past. They are altered, tainted, deeply unsettling, acting as a twisted mirror to his own selective perception.
Yeah, memory isn't passive here, it's weaponized.
Exactly. The missing eyes are a potent symbol of a lack of true perception, a willful ignorance, or a suppressed awareness of the shape that has always been behind him. This figure, always present, always the same, smiling without teeth. It could represent a deeply repressed trauma, an unacknowledged, darker aspect of his own personality that he has deliberately compartmentalized, or indeed, a parasitic influence that has subtly controlled or shadowed his life from its very inception.
Always there, feeding off him, maybe?
Perhaps. The shattering realization that it had always been there completely recontextualizes his entire personal history. It implies that his life, as he understood it, was a carefully constructed illusion, and this entity has been a silent, constant companion, influencing his trajectory from the shadows.
Which is worse, an internal demon or an external parasite you never noticed?
Both are terrifying prospects. It forces us to reflect on the nature of our own personal narratives. How much of what we choose to remember or forget shapes our present reality? What parts of our past do we deliberately blind ourselves to, perhaps out of fear or self-preservation? Are there uncomfortable truths lurking in the forgotten corners of our memories that, once truly seen, irrevocably change our understanding of who we are, perhaps revealing a darker core than we could ever imagine?
The horror escalates dramatically in the next section, a grotesque crescendo. At the end of that corridor, Thomas hears it. "Daddy!" his daughter's voice.
Oh, no.
But not her. Too young, too perfect, like a recording. A chilling imitation, devoid of natural warmth.
The uncanny valley of sound.
Yes. He runs, desperate to find her, and as he passes the photos, they begin to blink, their eyes opening, each one watching.
Watching him, judging him.
Now with their own accusatory gaze following his frantic progress. He reaches the nursery. His old nursery. But it hadn't been in this house. This was not his house.
Dislocation again. Memory fragments collide.
A deeply personal space, yet utterly alien. A composite of fractured memories. And the crib is full of something moving. He looks, and the thing in the crib wore his daughter's skin like a mask. But the eyes, they were old, wrong.
Oh, that's monstrous. Pure body horror mixed with psychological violation.
It sits up, looks at him with those ancient malevolent eyes and says, "Welcome back."
Welcome back, implying this isn't the first time.
As he screams, but no sound comes, the room folds, collapsing in on itself, and that same black iron key floats above him, waiting.
The cycle continues, or resets.
This is a grotesque violation of trust and innocence, twisting his deepest affection into something truly monstrous. The too perfect voice of his daughter immediately signals something artificial, a lure designed to draw him in, to exploit his most primal protective instincts.
Playing on his love for his child, the ultimate manipulation.
The blinking eyes of the photographs are a direct accusatory gaze, as if his past, now seen clearly, is watching and judging his descent, holding him accountable.
His own history turned against him.
The nursery, a place of innocence and new beginnings, is twisted into something monstrous. And the chilling realization that it's his old nursery, but not in this house, reinforces the idea that he's not in a physical space, but a deeply psychological one, perhaps a composite of fragmented, corrupted memories, or a dark projection of his own guilt.
A mindscape built from his worst fears.
The thing in the crib, wearing his daughter's skin like a mask, is pure, visceral horror. A profound perversion of the most intimate familial bond designed to inflict maximum psychological damage.
And those eyes, old, wrong, signify something ancient, timeless, evil, something that has existed far longer than Thomas, preying on his deepest fears and attachments.
And that welcome back is the final chilling touch, implying a cyclical nightmare, a return to something he's been trying to escape, or perhaps something he is now destined to be part of, a loop he can't break.
Or maybe recognition. We know you. You belong here.
That's even worse. And just as he screams but no sound comes, the key reappears, signifying that a choice, or more accurately, a predetermined consequence, is imminent.
This segment mercilessly explores the corruption of the most intimate memories and attachments Thomas holds, turning the very things he cherishes into tools of torment. The too perfect voice is a deeply unsettling detail. It suggests an artificiality, a lure designed to exploit his paternal instincts rather than a genuine presence. It's a psychological trap. The notion that the nursery is his old nursery, but not in this house, strongly reinforces the idea that he is operating within a mental construct, or a composite of fragmented, deeply personal memories rather than a fixed physical location. This entire labyrinth is woven from the threads of his own mind.
It seems inescapable because it is him.
Possibly. The entity in the crib with its old, wrong eyes behind the mask of his daughter's skin signifies something ancient, perhaps even timeless, preying on his most profound vulnerabilities. It's not just a monster, it's a profound perversion of innocence and familial love, a direct assault on the deepest wellsprings of his humanity.
It aims for the heart.
Precisely. The two words, welcome back, are chillingly ambiguous. They could imply a loop, suggesting Thomas is trapped in a recurring nightmare he cannot escape. a return to a torment he has already endured countless times, or they could signify a recognition by an entity that knows him intimately, that has perhaps been waiting for him, or even created this entire scenario just for his return.
Oh, wow. Like it's tailored for him.
Exactly. The reappearance of the floating key at this precise moment suggests that this confrontation, this revelation of a twisted reality has brought him to a critical juncture, where a choice, or more likely a predetermined consequence, is about to unfold. This is where the story truly digs its claws in, because it takes what is most sacred and warps it into profound horror.
So let's put it out there again. What do you think the thing in the crib symbolizes to Thomas at his deepest level? And what does welcome back truly imply for his fate? Let us know your interpretations in the comments below.
Definitely weigh in. These symbols are so rich.
The key, that chilling black iron key, once again hovers between Thomas's hands, presenting him with what seems to be a choice. If he took it, he knew he would never leave. But if he didn't, something else would.
A terrible choice. Or non-choice.
An agonizing no-win scenario. A perverse Kobayashi Maru test where both options lead to a terrible, inescapable outcome, designed to strip him of all hope. He closes his eyes, perhaps in resignation, and the key fell into his palm.
Fell, not taken. Again, that lack of agency.
This immediate capitulation, the key simply falling into his hand, speaks volumes about his profound lack of agency in this nightmare, as if the decision was never truly his to make. As it happens, a plain, wooden, ordinary door, shockingly mundane amidst the madness, opens in the wall,
A sudden shift in tone.
revealing his childhood bedroom. He steps through, and there is his mother, weeping into her hands, her face etched with profound sorrow, asking, "Why did you open it?"
Oh, that question, laden with history.
The immediate shift from the grotesque, mind-bending horror of the nursery to the seemingly ordinary childhood bedroom is jarring, almost cruel in its deceptive simplicity. It's a return to a semblance of safety, a familiar, comforting past, only to be instantly undermined by his mother's chilling, accusatory question.
It implies this isn't the first he's opened.
Exactly. It's a question that implies a long-standing pattern, a recursive action that Thomas is fated to repeat. Perhaps an ancestral burden passed down through generations, a curse he inherited.
Generational trauma manifesting as supernatural horror.
The horror isn't just in the monstrous entities or the distorted reality. It's in the quiet, sad implication of a cyclical torment, a loop that he can't break, a predetermined narrative he is forced to live out. This scene forces us to deeply consider how much of our suffering is truly self-inflicted, born of our own choices, and how much is predetermined, woven into the very fabric of our being or our lineage. Can we truly escape the patterns set before us, or are we destined to repeat them, forever trapped in a cycle we can't perceive until it's too late?
This moment is truly the crux of the philosophical debate between fate and free will within the narrative, encapsulated in that illusory choice. The choice Thomas faces is deeply deceptive. It's an inevitability disguised as an option, a cruel illusion of agency.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Pretty much. The phrase "something else would" implies a consequence that is perhaps even worse, a cosmic, unseen horror that would be unleashed if he defied the predetermined path. Highlighting the futility of resistance, the key falling into his hand rather than him consciously taking it profoundly underscores his lack of agency, suggesting that this action was predetermined, a path he was always destined to follow, as if his very being is programmed to comply.
He's just playing out a role.
It feels that way. His mother's question, "Why did you open it?" is not merely accusatory, it implies a long-standing pattern, a recursive action that Thomas has likely repeated countless times before, perhaps across generations, suggesting a deep, inherited trauma or a familial curse.
Passed down like a faulty gene.
It connects this deeply personal horror to a deeper familial or ancestral burden, suggesting a predestined cycle that he is trapped within, playing out a script he didn't write but is compelled to perform. It forces us to confront this unsettling truth. Can we truly escape the patterns set before us, or are we destined to repeat them, caught in an eternal loop of our own making, or perhaps our ancestors?
Some questions, like this one, have no safe answers.
Not at all.
And indeed, the terrifying loop is fully revealed right after this. Thomas tries to answer his mother, to explain, but he couldn't remember the question.
Amnesia strikes again, the loop protecting itself.
A chilling symptom of a mind breaking under the strain of repetition, or perhaps a deliberate act of erasure. His mother is gone, the room empty, and the door behind him has vanished. He's completely disoriented, adrift both in space and time. He was 8 years old again, or 46, or both.
Identity dissolving completely.
His very identity dissolving into a non-linear nightmare. A knot comes from inside the closet, a familiar, sinister sound. And when he opens it, there's that same staircase descending into shadow.
The path repeats, unavoidably.
He finds a room at the bottom, familiar, but decayed, echoing the initial hallway. A grim echo of his own decaying mind. On a desk, a journal in his own handwriting.
Oh, the journal. This is devastating.
Every page details a visit down the stairs, each time different, each time worse.
Yeah.
And the most chilling, most damning entries of all. Don't open the last door, but you always do.
Written by himself, documenting his own lack of free will.
The complete disorientation of time and age, 8 years old again, or 46, or both, is utterly terrifying. It dissolves the very foundation of identity, leaving Thomas adrift in a non-linear nightmare, unable to anchor himself in any specific moment.
He's unstuck in time in the worst possible way.
The return to the closet and the familiar yet menacing staircase reveals the cyclical nature of this horror, confirming that this is not a one-time event, but an endless recurring descent into a deepening abyss. But the journal. That's the most damning, most horrifying piece of evidence, a profound violation of self.
It really is.
It's a record written by himself, detailing his own inescapable doom, foretelling his own actions and failures. A script he himself penned. Don't open the last door, but you always do. This isn't a warning, it's a statement of absolute crushing predestination, a self-fulfilling prophecy of profound despair.
He knows the ending, but can't change it.
He's an actor in a play he himself has written, yet is utterly powerless to change the script, bound by the terrible repetition of his own subconscious patterns.
This is the full, terrifying revelation of the loop Thomas is trapped in. He is not merely experiencing a single traumatic event. He is caught in a cyclical nightmare, possibly reliving it or perhaps continually re-entering it endlessly, with each iteration growing worse.
Getting darker each time.
The memory loss, his inability to remember the question, can be seen either as a defense mechanism the mind employs to cope with such unbearable trauma, or, more chillingly, as a deliberate consequence of the loop itself. A way to ensure he remains trapped, unable to gain the self-awareness that might break the cycle.
Ignorance is, well, not bliss here, but necessary for the trap.
Exactly. The journal is the narrative's most powerful tool for conveying his profound lack of agency. It is a record, written by his own hand, that chillingly foretells his inevitable actions and failures, demonstrating a form of self-imposed or perhaps self-discovered predestination. The final entries, don't open the last door, but you always do, are an incredibly potent statement of an inescapable fate. They imply that his destiny is not only written, but written by himself, rendering him utterly powerless to deviate from it. A tragic figure tracked by his own subconscious impulses, or a deeper, ancient curse.
That's just bleak.
Utterly bleak. It forces us to confront the question. If our fate is written, even by our own hand, do we truly have free will? Or is the illusion of choice just another layer of our torment? What does it mean to be aware of your own inescapable doom, yet completely powerless to prevent it?
There are no good answers there. From the decaying room, Thomas sees it. A wall with no markings, but he knew it was a door.
Perceived, not seen, beyond the physical.
It's a door that exists purely in the realm of perception, known without being seen. A final, terrifying threshold. The key, that same black iron key that promises only deeper entrapment, appears in his hand again. A ghost of a choice. He turns it. The wall splits soundlessly.
Silence again, a tearing beyond sounds.
A breach of reality that transcends sensory input. A tearing of the fabric of existence itself into a void. Starless.
Infinite.
The abyss. And in the terrifying abyssal center of that void, he sees himself smiling.
The reflection returns. The smiling self, waiting at the end.
The intangible nature of this final door, known without being seen, signifies a gateway that transcends the physical. It's a purely mental or spiritual threshold, leading to the ultimate truth of his situation, or perhaps the ultimate dissolution. The soundless splitting of the wall is deeply unsettling, indicating a breach of reality that defies sensory input, a tearing of the very fabric of his world. It opens into an infinite starless void, a horrifying image of ultimate emptiness, of dissolution, of a complete stripping away of everything. But the ultimate horror, the most gut-wrenching reveal, is seeing himself, smiling at the heart of this emptiness. It suggests a malignant self-acceptance. Perhaps the other Thomas from the photographs finally asserting dominance, or an even deeper, darker aspect of his own identity that not only accepts this collapse, but actively welcomes it, reveling in the chaos.
The part of him that wanted the descent all along.
This is where the story truly sinks into the marrow of your bones, because the ultimate monster is the self.
This is the absolute culmination of Thomas's terrifying journey. A direct, inescapable confrontation with the true, perhaps fragmented and monstrous self that has been lurking beneath the surface all along. The void, infinite and starless, represents ultimate emptiness, dissolution, or perhaps the true desolate nature of his inner world, stripped bare of all illusion, revealing only absence.
Nothingness.
The smiling reflection in the center of this void is the most profoundly disturbing image in the entire narrative because it shatters any remaining sense of external threat. Is it the other Thomas that has been haunting his memories, finally stepping into its own, claiming its rightful place? Or is it an even more profound, darker aspect of Thomas's own identity that has orchestrated this entire descent and now, malevolently, welcomes the ultimate collapse of his consciousness, perhaps even enjoying it?
It's a terrifying thought.
It forces us to ask a terrifying philosophical question. What lies beyond the last door of our perception, the final frontier of our own minds? And what version of ourselves might we find waiting there, patiently, terrifyingly smiling? Is true self-knowledge always terrifying? Always an encounter with something we would rather keep buried deep within the recesses of our own minds? Something monstrous? What if the face you fear most is your own?
Chilling. Thomas steps into the void, into that final, horrifying confrontation, knowing there's no turning back. The other Thomas, his malevolent double, doesn't move, doesn't blink, its smile unchanging. And it speaks. Its voice resonating not from a mouth, but from the very silence of the void. You let me out.
The accusation, or statement of fact.
Thomas denies it. A desperate, futile attempt at self-preservation. But the other Thomas insists, its voice unwavering, chillingly confident. You open the last door you're not supposed to remember.
Confirmation of the memory wipe. The control mechanism.
Its mouth widens more than it should. A physical distortion that reflects a monstrous, unnatural truth. A grotesque unveiling of its true, horrific form.
The mask slips completely.
And then the void itself begins to shatter. Not with noise, with silence. Pieces of the world peel away, dissolving into nothingness. Memory, sound, thought.
The components of self unraveling.
The very components of his being, the architecture of his mind, unraveling into oblivion. Thomas tries to scream, to give voice to his final terror, but the last thing he saw was his reflection. It wasn't screaming, it was laughing.
Laughing. The final horror, utter despair.
This chilling dialogue reveals the true, horrifying purpose of this entire ordeal. The entity states plainly, "You let me out," implying a prison, a containment that Thomas, through his repeated actions of opening these doors, has finally breached.
His own actions damned him.
You're not supposed to remember suggests that the amnesia and the cyclical nature of his nightmare are part of a control mechanism designed to keep this entity contained, or to keep Thomas from fully understanding the monstrous truth of his own complicity.
He was both prisoner and jailer, unknowingly.
The widening mouth of the other Thomas is a physical distortion that reflects a monstrous, unnatural truth. A grotesque unveiling of its true form, hinting on something utterly inhuman that has taken root. The shattering void, not with noise, with silence, signifies a destruction beyond sensory input, a total, absolute disintegration of consciousness itself.
Annihilation.
Memory, sound, thought, the very components of his being, the very building blocks of his identity, peel away like layers of an onion until there's nothing left. And the final image, his own reflection laughing as he tries to scream. It's the ultimate, most profound betrayal from within. A malevolent triumph of the darker self, or perhaps the total absorption of Thomas by this entity. It's a moment where the story truly sinks into the marrow of your bones, leaving you breathless. That final image, that final silent laugh. It echoes long after the words fade.
This is the ultimate confrontation, where the true antagonist is revealed to be either a profound, malevolent part of Thomas himself, an aspect he's long denied, or an entity unleashed by his actions, perhaps one that has been parasitic all along.
Either way, it came from him, in a sense.
Yes. The declaration, "You let me out," is pivotal. It unambiguously implies that this entity was contained, imprisoned, and Thomas's actions, specifically opening the last door, have breached that containment, setting it free. The phrase, "you're not supposed to remember," suggests that the amnesia and the cyclical nature of his torment are precisely a control mechanism, designed to prevent Thomas from gaining the self-awareness that would either break the cycle or fully unleash this entity prematurely. It's a cruel game, where his forgetfulness is his prison.
Trapped by his own inability to know.
The silent shattering of the void is a terrifying concept. It signifies a destruction that transcends physical or auditory sensation, representing a complete dissolution of consciousness itself. The very building blocks of his reality, memory, sound, thought are stripped away, leaving an empty husk.
Nothing left.
The laughing reflection is the final, chilling confirmation of a malevolent triumph, a complete and utter surrender to the darker self or entity. It leaves us with profound, unsettling questions. What does it mean when the self is fragmented and one part triumphs over the other, consuming it entirely? If memory is taken, if thought is stripped away, what is left of us?
Just the laugh, maybe.
And is it possible that true liberation means releasing something terrifying within, something that then consumes you, leaving only a laughing echo in its wake?
God, and then suddenly a semblance of normalcy, a cruel trick of the light. Morning. The storm was gone. The blue hallway looked normal again, pristine and innocent as if nothing had happened.
The calm after the internal storm.
But of course, this deceptive return to normalcy provides no comfort, only a deeper, more insidious dread. Because the fourth door was still there, closed, waiting.
It remains. The horror lingers.
And the chilling final detail, the gut punch that leaves you reeling. Upstairs, Thomas's bed was empty.
He's gone.
Yeah.
Or changed.
The deceptive calmness of the morning, the apparent return to a normal reality, is utterly undercut by the lingering, unsettling persistence of the fourth door. It's closed, yes, but it's still waiting, implying that the horror is far from over. It's merely dormant, perhaps biding its time, or perhaps transformed into something even more pervasive.
The potential is always there now.
The empty bed is a truly chilling final image, confirming Thomas's absence. Or perhaps his complete transformation into the entity, or his absorption into the void. A total erasure of the man he once was. It leaves you with profound, gnawing uncertainty about his ultimate fate. Has he truly left, simply vanished from this plane? Or has he been subsumed by the very horror he unleashed, becoming part of its fabric? Or perhaps becoming the entity itself, waiting behind that fourth door?
Waiting for the next cycle, or the next resident.
If we face our deepest fears and fractured selves, can we ever truly return to normal? Or are we forever altered by the confrontation? What does it mean for a part of us to remain closed, waiting even after the ordeal appears to be over, hinting at a return?
This ending is a masterful use of a classic horror trope, but imbued with deep psychological weight, twisting the very concept of safety. The normal hallway is a terrifying facade, a deceptive return to an illusion of safety that offers no real comfort.
It's just a mask.
The lingering fourth door is a powerful, sinister symbol. It suggests that the entity Thomas unleashed is still present, perhaps contained but ready to strike again, or that Thomas himself is now irrevocably changed, perhaps having become the very entity he encountered, or its empty vessel. It points to a cyclical existence, a nightmare without end.
The labyrinth continues.
His empty bed is a haunting final image, leaving the listener with profound uncertainty about his ultimate fate. Has he genuinely left this reality, dissolving into the void he entered? Or has he been completely subsumed by the labyrinth of his own mind, now part of its very fabric? A silent prisoner within his own twisted thoughts.
Or the smiling thing in the void.
Or that. It forces us to ponder a chilling question. Does confronting our inner demons truly free us? Or does it merely release them into our reality, forever altering us and the world around us, leaving us forever changed? Or worse, consumed?
And so, our deep dive into the blue hallway's labyrinth of memory draws to a close. Or perhaps merely pauses. This wasn't just a story, it was an invitation to look within, to question what we truly know about our own minds, our choices, and the echoes that remain long after the narrative ends. It's a stark reminder that some stories don't just end, they linger, becoming part of our own internal landscape, reshaping how we perceive reality, and perhaps even how we understand ourselves.
This journey with Thomas, through his fragmented reality, it really reminds us that the most terrifying landscapes are often not external, but those we carry within ourselves. We are not just observers of the narrative, we are the potential architects of our own labyrinths. And sometimes the very doors we fear to open, the ones that lead to our deepest fears, are the ones we ourselves have sealed, awaiting our return.
We build our own traps.
In a way, yes. The most haunting questions are often those that have no safe answers, only deeper, unsettling implications that echo in the silence long after the words are spoken.
You've reached the end of this deep dive. Or perhaps, as Thomas learned, merely the beginning of another cycle. If the whispers of the blue hallway still echo in your mind, if the chill of that laughter truly lingers, and if the questions this deep dive stirred within you remain, then perhaps you too have found a door that calls. If these echoes remain, subscribe now and continue to journey with us into the depths of understanding.